In 2024, OpenAI posted a video online. It showed many different scenes, but among them was a cartoon kangaroo dancing on stage, two woolly mammoths stomping slowly through the snow, and a train moving through the suburbs of Tokyo with the passengers' reflections showing in the window. People assumed it was staged, like OpenAI had hired a film crew and was just passing it off as AI. But it wasn't. The clip spread everywhere. Directors started asking uncomfortable questions, Getty Images watched its stock price move, and one studio executive reportedly said it was the most unsettling thing I've seen since the iPhone. OpenAI called it Sora, and for a moment, it looked like the most important AI product since ChatGPT. But 16 months later, they deleted it. OpenAI sent a short notice to users, and that was it. This wasn't some obscure product that quietly failed. This was the demo that made Hollywood nervous and the one that landed a deal with Disney. It was the one that made every creative professional in the world wonder whether their job would exist in 5 years. So why would a company worth nearly $1 trillion end such a huge technological breakthrough? The answer has nothing to do with technology and everything to do with Wall Street. The first place to look is the simplest one: money. When you send a message to ChatGPT, the cost is real, but relatively small. A request runs, an answer comes back, and it's done in seconds. Compared to a video, text is cheap to generate at scale. Every second of video footage is made up of dozens of frames, and each frame has to stay physically consistent with everything around it. The lighting, the motion, even the way a shadow falls. Sora isn't predicting the next word like GPT is. It's constructing an entire physical environment frame by frame every time someone hits generate. Estimates suggested that producing even a short clip could cost over $1 in raw computing power. That sounds manageable until you remember that Sora wasn't priced per clip, it was bundled into a flat monthly subscription. So the more people used it, the more it cost, and OpenAI absorbed that cost every single time. Most software gets cheaper as it scales, but Sora didn't work that way. Growth made the problem worse, not better, and the hardware required to run it were the same GPUs powering ChatGPT, meaning that every video generated was a direct trade-off against products that were actually making money. So after the initial novelty and excitement of Sora wore off, OpenAI had to monitor its progress very closely to ensure one thing: that it was actually worth keeping it running. The launch looked great. Sora had millions of people signing up and clips were being posted everywhere. It was exactly what a successful product launch is supposed to look like. But there's a subtle difference between attention and retention. After the initial surge, most users began to follow the same pattern. They signed up, generated a few clips, shared something interesting, and then stopped coming back. It wasn't because the product was bad, but rather because once the novelty wore off, there just wasn't a real reason to return. The problem was that it didn't fit into anyone's workflow. It didn't solve a problem people had every day or even every week. It was the kind of thing you showed someone at a dinner party, not something you opened on a Tuesday morning because you needed to get work done. Even those creating videos, i.e. the ones who had the most to gain from using Sora as a real tool, hit a wall pretty quickly. Sora was able to produce stunning individual moments, but it struggled with consistency. A character's face might shift between shots, or lighting could change without warning. For someone working on a deadline and with real quality standards, that's not a quirk, it's a deal breaker. Sora had captured the imaginations of millions of people, but the workflows of almost none. Now, cost and retention were both problems OpenAI could work on, but this next one was a lot harder to deal with. The entire AI industry runs on a legally uncomfortable foundation, by training models on data scraped from the internet without asking permission. For text, that's been a slow-burning argument, but for video, it became a raging fire almost immediately. The viral success of Sora clips immediately mobilized Hollywood's legal departments. Major movie studios, streaming giants, and even the actors union SAG-AFTRA all voiced their alarm, with the unions stating they were aghast at the technology's ability to replicate a performer's likeness without authorization. Even the Japanese government issued a warning, saying that Sora's use of anime footage could destroy the country's creative industry. And this wasn't fringe criticism. This was coordinated pressure from some of the most powerful institutions in media. And then the Disney deal fell apart. Disney had pledged $1 billion to partner with OpenAI, planning to bring their characters and IP onto the platform. It looked like the kind of deal that validates a product, a signal that the biggest players in entertainment were ready to take this seriously. But as the legal threats stacked up and the content filters proved leaky, Disney walked away. So Sora wasn't just a risky product, it was a risky asset for a company to own. And that's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. By the time all of this was happening, OpenAI wasn't operating like a research lab anymore. It was moving towards an IPO, one of the most scrutinized financial events in tech. And that changes how every decision gets made. A research lab asks, is this pushing the frontier? But a company going public asks, does this generate predictable revenue? And can the risks be clearly defined? Or does this make sense to an investor in 30 seconds? And Sora failed every single one of those questions. It didn't generate consistent revenue. It consumed resources that could go towards products that did, the risks attached to it were open-ended, and it didn't connect to the other use cases like coding tools, document processing, and enterprise API access that were actually driving growth. So ultimately, Sora had to go, but the company made it clear that the underlying technology of Sora isn't being thrown away. Parts of it are being folded into other products in more controlled environments and pointed at use cases with clearer ROI. Think of it like this: they aren't killing the magic, they're just giving it a job description it can actually fulfill. Ultimately, OpenAI didn't shut down Sora because it failed. They shut it down because it succeeded at the wrong things at the wrong time inside a company that just couldn't afford to wait for a fix. It couldn't justify its place in the present. And the truth is, that's the uncomfortable reality behind a lot of AI right now. The limit isn't always what we can build. It's what we can afford to run, defend, and explain to investors, which means the next wave of AI won't be defined by what's most impressive. It'll be defined by what survives.